What's up, peeps? My name is Ian and I sell books on eBay. That's what I try to do anyway, amongst other things. It is 9:20 in the morning, Wednesday morning. I've had to do things a wee bit differently today to take advantage of what was available to me. So I've already picked, packed and dropped off all of yesterday's orders, about 11 in total, for round about 150 quid. So another average, better than usual, better than this month has been, better than last month has been kind of day. Why have I done it that way? Well, two reasons. The first one being the key one. Dropped my son off at school, and his school is nicely on the way to the Royal Mail delivery office. I had a couple of big parcels going out which don't fit in the parcel box, so if I don't drop them off before 10 o'clock, then I have to go and queue at a blooming post office somewhere just to drop off a couple of big parcels. I can't be bothered doing that, so this morning got started on it about 7:45. Started picking the orders that were there. I had them all picked, packed, labelled and ready to go for 8:15, so I could take him to school, and then a wee 5-6 minute detour to the Royal Mail office to drop them all off. So that's how long it really takes to pick, pack, post 150 quid's worth of book orders. It's not a lot of time at all. Really quite quick for what's involved. More often than not, when I'm working through what I need to do with this part of it, obviously there's listing and other things that have to happen throughout the day as well, but for that part of it, I usually end up doing it in kind of bitty. So I'll go and pick them, then I'll show them to you guys, then I'll get them all packed up, do the labels, and then at some point later when I'm heading out, go and drop them off at the Royal Mail place. But this morning, able to do them all in one big chunk, just get it all done and dusted, which gives a really clear idea of just how long it takes to do all of this. So half an hour to pick and pack, and then say 10 minutes to drop them off. So it would have taken me 10 minutes if I'd just gone straight to the place and come back. Obviously I had a detour dropping off the boy as well, so well less than an hour for about £150 worth of sales. And that's a third to eBay, a third to the post office, and a third to me, typically. Actually a wee bit more than that in profit for the orders that went out today. But even if it's that bottom end, £50 profit back into the business for about 40-45 minutes of effort. You can't really argue with that, can you? It would be great to be able to do a lot more hours in the day, but you just got to take what you can get. Just keep building up the inventory, finding the stuff that sells well, and that will slowly increase, which it has done. Looking at the kind of in-year numbers so far, I'm still down on sales compared to where I was last year, but last year I was selling everything and anything and spending an awful lot more time outsourcing, probably spending, I haven't worked that bit out, but spending an awful lot more on stock. So I'm selling stuff this time last year for 20 quid, but it was costing me £4 or £5 to buy it. So the profit much lower. If I sell something for 20 quid when it's the books, it's probably cost me £1 to £2 to buy it, if not significantly less. So the profits are better, even though the sales are down by about 10% compared to where they were. 3 times as many sales going out, so obviously a lot more lower value items being sold, but 3 times as many items sold, but typically average order size is 4 items. That's not 4, that's 4. So that means I've actually probably had fewer full orders going out, if that makes sense, although an awful lot more items getting counted by eBay, which is good again as well, because it makes people come in and buy 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 items at a time. Then that makes my items look like a better value proposition for eBay, so I'll get more traffic coming in there. So although this year has not been great so far, I have done better, I think, I'm pretty sure, profit wise than I did this time last year. and it can only get better. The consistent listing that I've been doing for, well, over a month now, you know, every day making sure I'm putting out X in value. Some days it's higher, a few days it's been lower. This month I was wanting to do £400 a day in listings. I've not achieved that. I mean, I've not got near to that on average, but I have managed to keep it above the £300 mark day on day. Some much more, some a bit less, but it means that I can have days where I'm not doing so much, you know, just list a few bits and pieces. And it's still very easy to get, you know, £100, £150 worth of stuff listed in a very short period of time. So at the weekends, when I don't want to be doing that much, I can take a wee half hour or an hour, stick some stuff up, and it's all good to go. So from that point of view, business-wise, it's looking okay. I had expected there to be a wee bit of a dip because we're not quite at the end of the month yet. There's always a bit of a pick-up at the end of the month. You know, people start getting paid, so on, so on. But I've found over the last several months, it's been the last 2 or 3 days of the month where you get that slight uplift. I'm always convinced eBay gives you a wee bit more traffic so that you'll have enough money to pay their subscription fees. And the subscription fees, if I can't make that full amount in one day's sales, then I'm doing something wrong. So eBay makes sure that there's at least that coming in, and that's about 90 quid for the shop subscription. So it gives you an idea of what is necessary. It should be easy to do. So yeah, it's been not a great month, but it's been okay. And if it continues for the next 5 days up to the end of the month the way it has done for the last 4 or 5 days, then that'll be okay. That'll be okay. We'll just about survive with that, which is quite good. Really need to not go and pick up anything else though until I get to the end of the month and get all of that done, which is really difficult not to do. Because you're just passing somewhere, just pop in, see what they've got. You never know what you're going to find. So I may pop in and browse a couple of places, but I'm going to try and be really, really, really good about not picking up anything I don't need to pick up at the moment. So really sticking to the really good sellers, bread and butter wise, and anything that's potentially got a bit more value. So I'll see if I can do that. I doubt I'll be successful, but we'll try. Anyway, I say all the orders are picked and packed, but I'll run through them anyway, show you what we got. I'll just work out, move this bag out the way so I can stand to the side and hopefully use up there to show you everything that has gone out. So first up, to one of you guys, Ian, thanks so much for the order. I'm glad my bletherings have inspired you to try out Terry Pratchett. It's brilliant, and you don't even need to particularly read many of them in any order. Just pick them up, give them a read. Ian's ordered 3 Discworld books, so Colour of Magic, Mort and Equal Rights, as well as The Long Earth and Truckers. So Truckers and Diggers, they're a bit of fun. You know, they're much more the kids' books, but I still really enjoyed reading them. The Long Earth I really enjoyed. I only read that last year, and I want to read the rest of the series. So I've just got my eyes open for them. And well, the Discworld books. The Discworld books are the Discworld books. They're brilliant. They're genius. They're great. So really hope you enjoy those. Those 5 books went for $13.99. Next up, we've got a wee bundle of Michael Connolly. By wee, I mean 5. So just 5 paperbacks as usual: Chasing the Dime, Void Moon, The Narrows, The Overlook, The Late Show, and the 5 of those went for £12.99. Next, bit of a fantasy. So we've got The Wise Man's Sphere, King Killer Chronicle Book 2, Patrick Rothfuss. So it's hardcover, nice big chunky book. That went for £9.99. And then another little bundle, this time John Grisham. So my bread and butter guys, you know, Connolly, Grisham. £12.99 for 5 Grisham paperbacks: The Guardians, A Painted House, Theodore Boone the Accused, The Judge's List, and Theodore Boone the Scandal. So another nice wee sale with those ones. Then we've got a box set. So these are heading out. Repeat buyer, that's always good. Bradley, don't know if you're watching or not, but they will be with you shortly. The Giver Quartet So 4 books by Lois Lowry. Lois, we'll go with Lois. It looks like Lois Lane. Lois Lowry. Good alliterative name. So that's a box of 4, really good condition. I don't think they'd ever been read. I've even taken out the box and told maybe I did to take pictures, and that box set went for £15. Next, sold 3 of these yesterday, sold them again, so quite happy with that. I did say at the time I'm going to go and see how many sets I could make up of these. Turns out I could have made up 1 more set, but somebody beat me to it and bought them anyway. So £9.69 for the first 3 Richard Osman books, paperbacks. So Thursday Murder Club, The Man Who Died Twice, and The Bullet That Missed. Very nice. Next, another nice wee single book sale, and this is a Warhammer 40k book, part of the Horus Heresy by Gav Thorpe, and that was Deliverance Lost. So a paperback, Warhammer paperback going out, and that sold for £20. Then a pre-made bundle. I'm quite enjoying these pre-made bundles. It means you're kind of guaranteed a sale from £15 upwards on a lot of them. And I've got so much at the moment that they're relatively easy to pull together. So for some of these I've picked up, like for example this one was Charlie Higson, the Enemy series, first 7 books, and I've got various copies of that in paperback and hardcover. So I managed to take a couple of listings down, some new ones I'd picked up, and that put them together as a 7 book set. Charlie Higson has not sold at all, although I really like the look of his books, but putting them together in the set, they went for $18.99 for 7 books. So it's a good price for a 7 book set, considering 3 of them are hardcovers, 4 of them are paperbacks, but they wouldn't have sold out with that. One sale, £6 postage, £12 left to split between me and eBay, which was promoted listings, so they will take a good third of that as well. So 7 books, making £6-7 profit on them, that's absolutely fine. Couple of DVDs. I haven't sold many DVDs lately. I've got a huge stack. I mean, I've got hundreds to add to the DVD listings I've got, but they're at the back of the pile of stuff waiting to get listed, and I'm just not getting to them at the moment. So I'll need to make a kind of conscious effort to top up some of these listings, because my Disneys are down by about half. These are 2 horror movies, The Quiet Place and Creep. I don't have many in the horror listing at all, although I do have quite a few to add to it. I just need to get it done, and the 2 of those went for £8.99. So again, I pay £1 for 10 DVDs, so getting £9 back for 2 of them is cracking. Obviously there's VAT and everything on those, but still, it's a nice return for what was spent, even though it's not a huge profit. You know what I mean? Next, another pre-made bundle, and this is the Erin Hunter Warrior Cat series. So 6 books in the collection. What we got, $14.99 for 6 paperbacks. So again, that's where I want my sales to be. Promoted listings again. A lot of promoted listings because I've been making an effort with those. So that'll be a £5 in listings fees, approximately. And then, what, £3, £3.29 postage, 20p in packaging. So about £6 back to the business in profit, less cost of goods, so on and so forth. So again, sticking to around about that £1 a book profit as it goes. Next, another bread and butter bundle. These just keep flying out the door. Next and last, I should say, £12.84 for 5 Julia Donaldsons. So Room in the Broom, Gruffalo's Child, Monkey Puzzle, Snail and the Whale, and The Smartest Giant in Town. So, a lot of these have sold with the buy 2 get 1 free, buy 3 get 2 free. A lot have gone in promoted listings, but that's fine. eBay make more money, but I'm making more money. I've got the stock available, so just keep churning it out and churning it out and churning it out. I put up my promoted listings earlier in the month. I marked the day I did it so I could see what was happening. So let's have a wee look and work this out. So on the 10th later on the 10th, I went in and reset all my promoted listings and put them back to eBay's recommended dynamic rate. So I tried bringing it down to see where sales would drop off, and then pushing it up to see where they would pick up. And I thought, spoke about it at the time, to hang with that, eBay have a recommended rate where they say they will show my listings to an optimal number of people. So let's trust them on that and see what happens. So in the month beforehand, I'm just going to work this out. Right, that's actually some interesting numbers. Let's just tell you what they are. Right, so for this month, I'm just looking at this month, I didn't go any further back. First 10 days of this month where I had much lower promoted listings, and they were a wee bit all over the place. We had total sales of £1,218, which works out as an average of £121.80 a day, right? 121.80 a day. Since then, from the 11th through the 26th, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus 7, 16 days, we had a total of 2,199, which is £137 a day average. So an increase of £16 a day in overall sales value. That might not be down to promoted listings, there could be other factors that are in there, but it's still, a small increase, a reasonable increase. However, taking it a step further, in the first 10 days, so where I made that £1,218 worth of sales, my total selling costs, so that's postage and my eBay fees, was £723.98, which is £72 a day. For the last 16 days, so from the 11th up to the 26th, up to and including the 26th, the total selling costs, postage plus all of my eBayness, was £1,212 for those 16 days, which works out as £75 a day. So it's cost me £3 a day more to sell everything using the additional promoted listings. So that's more expensive. And to make an extra £16, is it worth spending an extra £3? A tenner a day, is that a big deal? 70, 80 quid a week, can you take it? But then when I work all of that through, so if I say, right, for the first 10 days it was £121 and it cost me 72 to make that, which means that I was making £49 a day in profit. So it's not including cost of goods and packaging, but £49 a day in profit. The last 16 days, where the average daily sales have been 137 and average daily costs have been 75, that's been £62. So that extra £13 doesn't sound like an awful lot of money, but it's actually, a 20% increase on what I was getting prior to putting those promoted listings on. So is that down to promoted listings? Is it just the way the market has run? I don't know. It's very difficult to say exactly why things have happened. Is it just because they've been promoted at a better rate, or is it because there's more people buying stuff? I don't know which it is. Certainly I've had more views and more impressions, more page views, for slightly more sales. But looking at that and the evidence that's available, using eBay's dynamic recommended promoted listing stuff, if you've got enough stock that you can keep churning it out, that's looking like a good 20% uplift in profit at the end of the day. So, £49 a day, that's quite nice. Let's say there's are other costs to come off of that, but that's what's going back into the business every day. Taking that from £49 up to 62 simply by spending 5 minutes clicking a few listings, that's great as far as I'm concerned. So we'll keep an eye on that and see how it continues. It might just take a couple of really slow days again, and that'll come crashing back down. Let's say the last 5 days have all been okay, so that's maybe helped keep it up there. But there's been good days throughout. I've had 3 days this month over £200, and all 3 of them have come after I've changed the promoted listings. Beforehand, I'd only had a handful of days above £100. So I'm obviously going to keep going on with it. It seems to be a good thing, and it's making a wee bit of a difference. Having said that, until this week, the best week of the month was week 1, but that's you catching the kind of afters of payday. So the first couple of days of the month were quite good, and then it dips back down. So up until this week, that best week was the first week, and then it slowly declined. So make what you will of it, but it appears that since I've turned the promoted listings up to eBay's recommended dynamic rate, we're getting about a 20% increase in profit. And that's the key bit for me. If I had very limited things to sell, then it might be a different story. If I've only got 10 things to get sold, then you want to maximise, every penny you can get out of them. So you don't perhaps pay for promoted listings. But I've got thousands of books, and I just want to keep them moving so that I can get more and keep them going. I mean, you'll have heard me getting slightly overwhelmed about the amount that I've got sitting waiting to get listed, and I'm still only really scratching the surface of what's available to me as pickups. So I want to just keep things churning through, and if that's the position you're in, then take less profit per item but increase your overall end of day profit. How much more time is it taking me to process and make that extra £13 a day? Well, as I've demonstrated this morning, well less than an hour to do all of that, and I'm guessing, I've estimated about £50 I would have made in profit today, but it will be more than that because I had a couple of decent value orders. So to make that 62, probably about the average. Actually, yesterday, the total sales yesterday, 24 hours, midnight to midnight, was £178. So going third, that's 60 quid. Yeah, so to make that £60, it took me less than an hour. Can't be a bad thing. If I could get 4 hours a day working through all of that and doing the same thing, that's very nice. I would take that all the time. And then that leaves you 4 hours to list and tidy up your listings and keep your stock where it needs to be, all of these things. So yeah, it's been worthwhile so far with the promoted listings. If anyone else has tried that kind of comparison, let us know how it goes. I'd love to do some proper testing, but the organising it and tracking it and the rest of it, I just feel it'll take so much time that it's not worthwhile doing at the moment. But maybe double up the stock again and it might become worth it there. Which takes me to the other thing that will have increased the sales would be that consistent listing. And by consistent listing, you could list 1 day a week, you could list 1 day a fortnight. It would be pretty much the same as listing every day, but it's just about the value getting out there. So if you want to sell £100 worth of stuff a day, you need to be listing at least £100 worth of stuff a day. And everything that you list, some of it will sell straight away, some of it will take a month, some of it will take 3 months, some of it will take a year. So having that kind of understanding in what you're listing as well helps you to build up. And then if some of the stuff you take takes a year to sell, that you list takes a year to sell, then it's going to take you a year of listing 100 items a day or £100 worth of items a day to start making £100 a day consistently in sales. Yeah. So in the last month, I've been making sure that I've been listing at least £300 a day, £320 a day at least. So in theory, it'll take me a year from that point to get up to £320 a day in consistent sales. That makes sense. Prior to doing that, I don't really know what I was listing on a daily basis. I think when I kind of go back and look through that, I was probably averaging about 200 thereabouts over the last few months, less than that prior to that because I was listing things other than books. So I should reach the £200 mark at some point if I've been listing stuff that people want to buy, and that is certainly heading that way. We've gone up to 137 So kind of 2/3 of the way to that £200 mark with just the books, and that's me maybe 6 months in from listing that kind of volume and value. So in another 6 months, we're getting towards the end of the year, it should consistently be £200 a day from that effort. But obviously I've increased the effort, so there'll have been 7 months worth of £300 to £400 a day, which will hopefully push it further. I hope all of that makes sense. This would probably be great with graphs and charts and all sorts of things going everywhere. But just, if you're wondering how to scale your business, if you're not sure what to do next, it is just perseverance, consistency, and whilst you're doing all of that, have confidence that at some point the sales will go up. There'll be quiet times of the year, you'll have busy times of the year, and to be honest, a lot of you have been doing this a lot longer than I have. I mean, I've been selling on eBay for decades, to be honest, but only seriously like this for the last kind of year and a half, so still relatively new on that side. I've spent a lot of time doing other things, managing big departments, ridiculous budgets, and getting that efficiency and process is the key thing. So no matter what you're doing, things might not be going exactly how you would like them to at any given point, but if you keep refining what you do, then it will incrementally improve. And in a year's time, if you keep doing that and you're consistent with it, then you'll be looking back and going, I can't believe I was ever worried. It will increase and increase and increase. And do lots of little things, one at a time. Huge lesson I learned early on in my career was that when things aren't working and you go in and change everything and it's a success, that success won't last because you won't know why it's been a success. It could have been the combination of everything that you did. You make 20 changes to how you work list process, and your sales go up by 50%. It might have been just one of those things that caused that increase, and everything else has a zero benefit or over time a negative benefit. So it won't have an impact straight away, but it will begin a decline. So you've got to make one change at a time and make sure that you understand what that change is and have some way of measuring it. So with the promoted listings, making that change earlier in the month, that's my big difference for this month. That's my kind of significant tweak, and I've got some metric to measure that against to see whether or not it has been a success. And let's say it's looking like around a 20% increase in profits since that change was made. I've also made 2 other minor changes over the last 2 months, which the first was, and again this was weeks before changing the promoted listings piece, and that was having that consistent tracking of how much I am listing so that I can measure that against sales. That will not have an immediate impact. That will take time to build and go, but again, it's a metric I can trace. I can see where sales begin to increase and relate that to where I started increasing what I was listing, the same as I can see where sales begin to increase and relate that to the promoted listings. The promoted listings should start having an impact within 4 to 5 days, giving the system a few days to kind of get a handle on your listings and getting them to the right people. The value of listings, I say average 6 months to a year it takes a lot of these books I've got to sell. So therefore I'll be looking at that 6 months after I made that change to see if I can see a dramatic trend. The other small change I've made is having more pre-made bundles. I needed to manage space. I needed to be able to make the most of the stock that I could pick up. So I've been making up the pre-made bundles. That does not account for the change in sales that I've had. I have sold quite a few of these, as you will see, but it doesn't solely account for the change in sales. But what I'm testing with that is what type of bundles actually sell and sell quickly, because I don't want to be putting stuff in a bundle and then it's sitting in a corner somewhere for a year. if I'm making up those bundles, I want them to move quickly. So the ones that I'm making up, I'll make up a certain number of romance novels, your Mills and Boons, a stack of James Patterson hardcovers or Ian Rankin hardcovers, vintage paperbacks. I've got a few different kind of categories that I'm using to create these bundles, and seeing which ones sell within a day, within a week, within a month, within 2 months, within 3 months. And any that sell within that 3-month period, I will then continue to create more. If I've put up, for example, 10 lots of James Patterson hardcovers and one of them sells in 3 months, not doing any more of those. That's something that will end. I'll just get them cleared out some other way and bring that piece to an end. I've sold a couple. That was just an example because it was a pile of books I could see in front of me. If something's selling regularly, within a week of putting them up, which I've got a couple of suspects for that, then that means when I'm going out picking, I can grab more that I know can make up those particular bundles and get them moved. There's stuff that does not sell on its own or on the variation listings, but as soon as I put them together in a bundle, obviously they sell. I knew that before. I've heard other people saying it. I've seen it myself. I was perhaps being a wee bit lazy and just adding them to the variation listing rather than taking the effort to pull 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books out, putting them together, taking a few pictures and selling them that way. So that's the other small change that I've made, but it's really kind of one a week, less than one a week to be honest, and I know what I've done, so I know how to track it and record it. If I did all of those things on the same day and sales improved, it would be much harder to understand exactly what the impact's been, what has actually caused it. So staggering these things out makes a big difference on that. And whatever you're doing, whatever kind of business you're running, whatever kind of job you've got, make small changes. If you're working for somebody else, if you're in an office, if you're doing whatever, think about the small changes you could make that would make your life easier. Still go by the fact that, if a company's obliged to pay you minimum wage, then to be honest, you're only obliged to give them minimum effort, do the minimum work available, but you can make life an awful lot easier. And if you do want to, advance within an organisation and do more, then if you can do more in the time available to you, the time they're paying, then that's going to look good and will help you, get promotions, different advancements, different opportunities as it goes along. So you can be a yes man and go for it and have a great career, or you can do the minimum and make it as easy as possible for you to do that minimum. Either way, always look for those wee things that you can do a wee bit better and a wee bit easier that will make your life easier. The setup of your desk, if you're working in an office, is everything where it needs to be to optimise what you're doing? Or if you just got stuff everywhere, and every time you need to do anything, you're digging and looking and hunting, all of these things come into it. If you're selling stuff on eBay or any of the other platforms, the processing part is key. So packing is ridiculously straightforward and easy because for me, it's like a kind of a factory run, factory line production thing. Stuff's in a pile waiting to get packed. I pack it in order that it shows up on my listings in eBay. So the bubble wrap is here, the tape is next to it, the envelopes, packaging bags are next to that. So it gets wrapped, it gets taped, it gets bagged, and it moves over to the side with a weight and a postcode written on it. You do that for everything that's there, and then they get moved back in the opposite direction as I input the weights onto eBay's postal page, and then they're still in order. Hit print, the labels get printed off, and then they get moved back across again into a bag, getting labelled and bagged, labelled and bagged, labelled and bagged, labelled and bagged, and it's so quick and easy, and everything's just exactly where it needs to be. And it's a simple process to manage, but having these things just set up so that it works for you is a great way to do it, and you'll be amazed at how much time and how efficient you can become in doing that, where it gets to the point where you don't even need to think about it. You just go into autopilot for 10-15 minutes and suddenly everything's done. The same with your listing process. Make sure you know where you're taking your pictures, at what point you create the listing, You know, do you take a load of pictures and then go and do your listings? Do you curate listings and go and do your pictures? Do you do it all at once using your phone? You know, have all of that down pat and know what your process is, so that you can just have a stack of stuff needing listed, get it done, then it's ready to be sorted and put away, which is the final part. Storage is key. You'll have heard me saying a few times, God, I couldn't find that book, it took me ages. By ages, I usually mean 5 to 10 minutes. But that's quite significant. You know, if you had 5 books and they all took 10 minutes to find, that's nearly an hour to make like £5 profit. You don't want that. Know what your process is for working things through and getting them stored and in the right places, and keep improving all these little bits and pieces. Now, when I was talking about only making one improvement at a time to improve the sales, you can be doing something to improve sales. You can be doing something to improve process. You know, your packing process. You can do something to improve your listing process. You can do something to improve your sourcing process. You can do all of these things at the same time, because they have different impacts, therefore different metrics and different things that you can check and understand what difference it has made as you've gone through it all. You know, you can make changes to all of those things in one day, and you'll be able to measure them all differently to see the impact that it's had. You know, for process, instead of it taking you 4 hours a day to do everything, it takes you 3.5, 2, 1 hour. That's where you'll be able to measure the differences there, compared to, you know, overall profit coming back into the business, which would then relate to how much time you're spending doing everything to make that profit. So it does tie back, but you know, continuous improvement, any kind of business improvement piece, it's really, really key to keep thinking about that, and it will make the biggest difference to your business. Not watching loads and loads of videos to work out what else you might be able to pick up and buy, because you might see something good, you might not see something good. That's kind of out with your control. You know, same with the books. I've got an idea of what I'll be able to pick up over the course of a month, but on any given day, I ain't got a clue. There might be nothing there, there might be hundreds there. You just don't know. So that's a wee bit out with your control. But the process of going to do the picking, or your packing, or your storing, or your listing, any of these things, they're all completely within your control, and you can make those changes and improvements and see the benefit of them. Or when something doesn't work, you can see that that type of action does not improve things, makes them slower, makes it more difficult, so you know not to do that. So you're either going to get a win, or you're going to learn something every single time. You know, eliminate waste, increase productivity. If you're working for yourself, that's essential. It might be that you can't scale up your business any further than what you do. You know, if you've got a limited availability of stock or storage, which limits the stock you can collect, then it might be that you're not going to be able to make really much more money than you're making at the moment. Excuse me, wee frog in the throat there. But it might be taking you 6 hours a day at the moment to do that. What if you could do that in 3? So you make the same amount of money, but it's only taking you 3 hours, which gives you another half a working day compared to what you were using previously to do whatever you want. You know, find another route, spend more time reading a book with the family, watching a movie, going out with your mates, you know, whatever it might be. So yeah, really work hard on that productivity side. Anyway, this has turned into a bit of a kind of continuous improvement ramble. That wasn't my intention this morning at all. It was just I'll have a quick run through of everything that's sold, because I can't show you it, so I'll stick up some screenshots. And it's turned into that. But it is really, really important. I can't stress enough how important it is to understand exactly what you do on a day-to-day basis, and therefore what small changes, small incremental changes you can make all the way through. I've just said sorry about rambling on, and now I'm rambling on some more. British Cycling, whatever it was, the guy that they brought in to improve the performance of the British cycling team, right? So beforehand it was like, right, we want to get better bikes because that'll take, you know, 10% off our times. We want to train athletes from when they're 5 to do certain things because that'll get us another 15%. And everyone was looking at where are these big gains. And this guy came in, I can't for the life of me remember his name, but Google it, look it up. He's got some great ideas and you know, ways of going about things. He came in and said, right, I am not looking for a 5, 10, 15, 20% gain in anything. I'm looking for a 0.1%, a 1% if it's good, maybe a wee 0.5% gain across 100 things. And he just started one at a time getting those 1% gains. And if you get a 1% gain 100 times, that's a significant overall improvement. It's not 100% improvement because it's only going to be 1% of where you were at the moment. So you go from, if you're at 100, you'll go to 101, and then you'll go to 102.1, and it goes up incrementally like that. But it results in, a significant overall increase. And the gains get smaller and smaller and smaller as time passes because the base is greater that you're working from. So if you have 10 things that you can do that will all get you a 1% improvement, but you do them one at a time, by the time you get to the 10th, you're actually only getting a kind of 0.7, 0.8% improvement, but it still accumulates and adds up and makes much more of a difference than just going all out to try and get that one big extra, that one big win. Lots of small incremental improvements. And what happened to the British cycling team? They went out and won everything. It works from the sport point of view, it works from the business point of view, it works from a personal point of view. Whatever you're doing, look for those small improvements all the time. If you go to the gym, if you're trying to keep fit, you don't go out and say, right, I'm going to be running 10 miles every day. You go out and you do a wee mile, maybe half a mile to get started. Maybe you go for a longer walk and you walk faster, and every day you get an extra wee bit and an extra wee bit and an extra wee bit until you're running a 5k or you're doing a half marathon, and your health's improved, your fitness is improved. But it's got to be those wee incremental bits. You can't go straight out and run a half marathon if you've been sat on the couch for the last few years. You'll kill yourself. Do yourself an injury. It's got to be incremental from that, and it's the same with everything else you're doing. Your eBay business, your reselling business. Look for those little incremental baby steps that will improve it as it goes. Anyway, enough. Stop. Ian, shut up. You're havering, man. Thank you all for watching. If you have watched this far, you're mad. So you might as well hit the like button if you're not subscribed. Why not subscribe? Leave a comment. Tell me how much mince I am talking. Always glad to hear that I'm talking nonsense. Thanks to everyone who has been leaving comments and bits and pieces over the last few days. I was going to go through a couple of them as well, but I've kind of taken so much time talking mince that I've not got to that. Let's have a very quick look. Kristen Bazinga, have you tried the other Song of Ice and Fire books? Night of the Seven Kingdoms, Fire and Blood. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, loved it. It was great. Fire and Blood, I've got 2 copies of it. I looked at it. It looked like a bit of a Tolkien Silmarillion type thing, and it didn't look like a story. So I've not actually read it yet, although I have had it sitting for years. So maybe sometime. And also recommending John Gwynne, Shadow of the Gods, Hunger of the Gods. I'll keep my eyes open for that one. But I've got a few to go. Bearded Biker, HDRK, terrible sales for the last 4 days. Yeah, I think I've been really lucky that mine have been fairly steady and not too bad over the last few days. Still a lot of people suffering massively, and massively suffering, so I really hope that picks up for you. I'm sure it will. And then Richard's reselling. Quick question, how do you store books that have been listed? Shelves, stacks. That's it. I keep everything alphabetical for anything that's just individual books, and it just runs around the wall from A all the way to Z, and that's across 3 different spaces that I've got at the moment that I use for that. Anything that's a pre-made bundle, it gets wrapped up, it gets labelled, and it goes into a certain part of the garage. So it's all wrapped to keep it dry and protected from the cold. It's not like it rains inside the garage or anything, but and they're in particular, I'm going to call them bays, but it's not. I've got different tables and benches, and they're all sat around in their right area, so I can find them quite quickly. So in each space there's maybe 15 to 20 different sets of books so that I can get to them quite easily. That's the only way I can find to do it. Alphabetical, then you know at least roughly where they're going to be, so you can find them quite quickly. You know, keep authors together, so authors that have got a lot of titles are all kept together, but it's just kind of generic authors ending with the letter A. They're across some shelving so that I know they're within a certain area. It's not always easy to get them in exactly alphabetical order, because that would mean moving and shifting and doing everything, so some stuff's a wee bit out of sync, but it is all in roughly the right place. That's what I do with them. What else have we got here? Steve-O Him. Steve-O Him, where do you get all your books from, and do you read much or just sell them? Charity shops, mate. That's the only thing. I just go to the charity shops and pick up everything I can from them. Very occasionally I'll happen on somebody private outside the shops who'll have some stuff that I can take, but really charity shops the whole way. And do I read much? Not as much as I would like. That's all I can say. I do try and read often, but I don't get to it as often as I have done in the past, but more often than I have done at other points in the past. So at the moment I'm working through The Stand. I'm only a couple hundred pages into it, and I've been reading it for 3 or 4 days, so that gives you an idea of the kind of pace that I can get through these things. But I do have a few stacked up to read. I was talking about them the other day, and I've still not even moved them off my table. So we've got a bit of Joe Abercrombie, A Little Hatred, that's to see if he's any George Martin type, and Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry. So that's a couple that I've grabbed, well, bought new from Amazon, which is most unlike me, very recently, but I've got a big stack of stuff to get through. I love a bit of Greg Hurwitz, Orphan X, so I've got a few in that series still to read. Theo Clare, who was formerly Mo Hader, passed away after she wrote this first book in a series of fantasy, so I've got that to read. I'm kind of keep putting it off because I don't want it to be our last book. I don't want it to be our last book. You know, I've got a couple of other Stephen King books to get read that I've never read. I've got some, where is he? Robert Harris. So I like Robert Harris, but I've got a couple of his that I haven't read yet. And I've even got one John Connolly that I've not read yet, The Furies. I've not read The Furies yet. I've had it sitting for ages. I got it like the day it came out, and it's just sat ever since because I've not read it yet. I always like to wait until there's something new on the horizon before I read the last one, which I'm sure he must have another book out and I've just not noticed it. So yes, I do try and read as much as I can. I'm very particular in my tastes, much like most, but I'll give lots of things a bit of a go. Right, I'm stopping now. 48 minutes of me talking mince. I apologise. Love you. See you. Bye.